Here's what I didn't expect about this impeachment report today. And maybe I should have expected it. But what I didn't expect was that in laying out everything they found in this impeachment investigation, including the committee, organizing their findings into Section 1, the president's misconduct, and Section 2, the president's obstruction of the impeachment inquiry, in seeing them lay out and organize what they found, I guess I should have expected it, but I didn't really get it until I saw it all laid out in this report today. That having them break it down and lay it out in this format makes it much easier to see the rationale for breaking all of this evidence and all of these allegations up into separate articles of impeachment. I mean, it is really one story about what the president was trying to do and the kind of leverage that he brought to bear on this foreign country and how wrong that is. It's one story. But when you see them lay out all the evidence and how they got that evidence and the different sorts of crimes and high crimes and misdemeanors that might be implicated here, you can see how this might evolve at the Judiciary Committee into the articles of impeachment against President Trump. NBC News reported today that the Judiciary Committee is considering consolidating all the evidence about President Trump pushing this foreign government to help him in the 2020 election into an article of impeachment that's based around the idea of abuse of power. And there's precedent for that. Abuse of power was the subject of the third article of impeachment that was brought against President Richard Nixon. Here, if NBC's reporting is borne out, abuse of power as an article of impeachment, that would encompass all the stuff about President Trump pressuring Ukraine to give him help in his 2020 re-election effort. But if you follow this through, if you did isolate that in one article of impeachment, if you isolated President Trump trying to get foreign help for his re-election effort in a single impeachment article, well, that would leave room for a second separate impeachment article based on President Trump making that demand of Ukraine a transactional thing. Right? You see what I mean? So him telling Ukraine to help him with his re-election effort, that would be one article of impeachment, abuse of power. But if they did it that way, that would leave room for a second article of impeachment. On top of that, you could have a second article that was about him withholding a White House meeting in order to get that help with his re-election effort, and him withholding military aid from Ukraine in order to try to get that help from Ukraine for his election. Right? That part of it, the kind of leverage that he brought to bear on that country, the stuff he knew that country wanted and needed that he wouldn't give them unless he got those investigations, that could be a different article of impeachment. And that doesn't necessarily have to be abuse of power. That second one, if you isolate it that way, that conceivably could be an article of impeachment based around the idea of extortion and bribery. Right? Conditioning an official act on receiving some benefit for yourself, that's bribery. If you're an official who can control whether or not an official act happens, and you say, no, I'm not going to do that official act unless you give me a little something for me, that's bribery. And bribery is explicitly in the Constitution when it comes to the description in the Constitution of impeachment. Article 2, Section 4, the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, if they are going to break out into its own article, not just the president trying to get foreign help for his re-election effort, but the specific issue of the president making official acts of the U.S. government conditional on him getting personal political favors from Ukraine, that means we could be looking at an article of impeachment against President Trump for bribery, which is explicitly in the Constitution in terms of what you use impeachment for. And if they are going to do that, I feel like I can see more clearly, and I can see with the new evidence that was presented in this report that we got today, that we hadn't seen before, you can sort of see the building blocks of how that might work.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.